Today's First Alert afternoon weather update is brought to you by Lockhart Roofing.
Happy Friday. Good afternoon. First Alert meteorologist Diane Phillips here at the First Alert desk. I hope you've been able to stay warm today because it is simply cold. I know I have my layers on trying to battle the cold and keep that out, but it's definitely been a challenge today with some of the coldest air of the season arriving. Hopefully this is just kind of our last big push of cold, and then we can kind of get back to a little bit more normal, more tolerable winter weather here in the state of Michigan. But we aren't the only ones dealing with the cold. Everybody across the Mitten State is. So we're going to be talking about our First Alert weather days, the cold air that we're still forecasting. And I do have an update on the weekend system. I know that there's been a lot of talk of that storm coming in. So I know a lot of you are saying, what does that mean for me? I hear that we have a huge storm on the way. Well, here in mid-Michigan, it doesn't look like we have a huge storm on the way for us. So we're going to be breaking down those details. But I do want to start with just the feels like temperatures, because this is what everybody's talking about. I know even a lot of folks across our newsroom were telling one another, stay warm when you head outside. So feels like temperatures, it feels like it's about 20 below in Saginaw, 21 below in Flint, 23 below in Clare. Mount Pleasant, they've been kind of able to hold on a little bit better, maybe fare a little bit better than some locations. We're seeing those wind chills there at -15, -18 in Bad Axe. We have -19 in Oscoda. West Branch is at -20. So a lot of us are into those negative teens, and even the majority of these readings are hovering right around -20. So this is where we do have those frostbite concerns. We had a lot of school districts that were closed today. Also check in with schools if you're going to be going to basketball tonight, because you may find that those matchups maybe have been canceled because of the cold and just getting people to those schools. So we are going to be finding that the cold air isn't going to break. So that's why we just kind of first alert you here that you may want to check in with school districts if you had basketball in mind for tonight. Air temperatures are in the positive, so we're going to be on the positive side here, where we are finding that air temperatures are around 1 degree in Saginaw, Caro, and Oscoda, and in West Branch. We're right at 0 for Gladwin, and in Flint we are at 4 in Mount Pleasant, and Port Hope 5 in Caseville, and we are finding that a lot of us are just into those positives, seeing those single digits. So it's cold for everybody here. I do also want to bring up a few more of our temperatures even across the state and through the region, because we aren't the only ones dealing with the cold air. This is kind of a state look. We had, I believe it was in Iron County, one of the sensors that reported a wind chill into the western UP of -55 this morning. So you can see our friends in the western UP, Ironwood is at -15 right now. That's for an air temperature. So then imagine that wind chill on top of it. You can even see our friends in Grand Rapids have that air temperature at -1, -7 at Sault Ste. Marie. So for folks that are maybe enjoying a winter weekend in the UP, they are definitely feeling the cold air, but we also have those cold conditions here. You'll see that there's a little more pink over into Wisconsin, coming in towards Minnesota, Illinois, coming into Iowa, even Chicago showing -5 for an air temperature. Something that I want to point out is that we typically see our temperatures on the west side of Lake Michigan to be a lot colder than what we have here. We are kind of fortunate in the Great Lakes state that we have those lakes, because they can kind of provide a little bit of insulation, and that's why we don't see our temperatures drop nearly as fast, or also not as brutal and harsh as what our friends further west have to deal with. So we are all experiencing the cold, but it definitely could be worse. We can see that for some of our neighbors. They're experiencing worse weather. Now, our winds today, we've been seeing those around 20 to 30 miles per hour. Those northwest winds have been pretty quiet on the lake effect. We do still have some, but we are finding that those winds have just kind of allowed for some of that lake effect to settle down. I know we had a lot of snow that just continued and would not stop there along 96 and 69 last night. So coming across kind of that snow belt there, we were picking up those accumulations. So our friends across Shiawassee, Genesee, and Lapeer counties really had to work through that snowfall. We are finding, though, that northwest wind has kind of shut that off, so that is a welcome sign. Let's take a look at our radar, our pinpoint Doppler, showing that we do still have some lake effect. We are watching for some of those blue returns here in towards Ogama County. We also have some cloud cover that's building in. We've been able to enjoy some sunshine. That's been nice. If it has to be this cold, at least we want to balance out the forecast with some beautiful sun. You will find, though, that those snow showers are falling apart as they come in, so they are still reaching, but they're maybe not as strong as what they are towards the Traverse City area. So overall, we are seeing some sun, some clouds, but we are going to continue to see a mainly dry forecast. So when we are talking first alert weather day details, I know a lot of folks are saying, okay, so when's the snow come? Well, the first alert weather days are not for snow this time. They are for just the cold air. So those wind chills still going to be around 10 to 20 degrees below, and even sometimes as low as -25. That's why we have the first alert weather day, because we have seen that there have been events canceled. You maybe have some pipes that are just not handling the cold all that well. So some of that just kind of throws off your normal routine, and that's why we have the first alert weather days. Is kind of your normal plans could be thrown off for this Friday and even going into Saturday morning. So we will carry that first alert weather day into Saturday morning, because tomorrow will be brutally cold once again. Now we are going to be looking at those wind chills and even additional cold weather alerts to kind of hold here. So you will see from the National Weather Service kind of very similar thinking for us, to where we have the cold weather advisory and then the extreme cold warning. So that is going to last until 10 a.m. on Saturday. Again, this is mainly the same concerns of frostbite, and you'll see all of us here in mid-Michigan have either an advisory or a warning. So no matter where you live, you have those cold weather alerts that are active. The biggest thing is that you want to limit your time outside. You want to bundle up, cover any exposed skin if you are outdoors. And again, these alerts are just for the cold weather, not regarding any snow that you think is coming in the forecast. So this is just for the cold weather. Now, though we've covered a lot of our cold weather details, we do still have some snow coming in for the weekend. So that big system that's going to be hitting the south, it has been creeping further north. So we're going to kind of break down that, and kind of, if you've been just seeing this on social media and going, oh my goodness, what's going on? We're going to answer all of those questions. So stay with us. I'm going to take a real quick break, get that set up, and we'll have all the answers to your questions coming up in 60 seconds. Welcome back. Let's get right into that forecast, because you are going to see here that we have still that lake effect showing up on our hour by hour. I have it kind of pulled back out so you can see that this system that's going to be rolling through here. And we are going to be finding that overall a lot of that lake effect just isn't strong enough to come into mid-Michigan, but it's still going to be something that we'll still keep an eye on. And then if you're traveling this weekend, just another thing to kind of keep in mind. So I have us backed out here on the hour by hour just so that we can pick up that system, which you can see it really starts to undergo cyclone genesis, so the creation of a cyclone. So we're really going to start to see that develop, deepen, and become a little bit stronger through Texas, Oklahoma. So this is going to be coming across the United States. So this is where we have the ice, snow, and rain concerns for our friends in the southern half of the country. You can see that snow building in towards Kansas and throughout Missouri. Some of that snow coming in towards Kentucky, and then ice coming in towards Tennessee. So that's where a lot of those locations are really concerned, because one, the infrastructure just isn't there. So that's why there's been a lot of chatter on social media, is that one, this affects a lot of states. You have a lot of meteorologists that are keeping an eye to this, and then of course you have a lot of people who are consuming those posts and those forecasts. So we are seeing, of course, a lot of traffic with that system coming in, but there is also going to be that big ice component. So we're seeing that extending out into the Carolinas, coming through Tennessee, Kentucky, even towards Arkansas, portions of Louisiana. So again, these are locations that don't really have trucks. They don't have a lot of salt planned. Also, we were running a story during our newscast that a lot of homes are not built for this kind of cold weather that they're going to be experiencing. So you will see by Sunday morning that that snow does come a little bit closer towards us, but we're just kind of on the northern edge. You can see that there's a lot more action, a lot more of those vivid colors that are south of here. So when you hear the words big system coming in for the weekend, yes, this is a big storm, and it is going to impact a lot of people, but we're just on the edge. So considering we've had a lot of cold and it just kind of seems like we would be setting up for this system, it looks like it's going to be kind of staying south of us. Now, this doesn't mean that we're not going to be seeing any snow. We are going to be looking at some snow in parts of mid-Michigan, but we're not going to be looking at a huge snow system from this one as of now. Now, we can see that this can change because something that we noticed right around Tuesday or Wednesday, I believe it was, the afternoon data came in, and then that's where we saw kind of that bump to bring snow in, because we were seeing it more towards the state line. And then we saw it coming closer towards mid-Michigan. So now we've kind of been seeing it kind of fluctuate anywhere from I-69 to 96 on kind of that northern side. So that's what we're still watching. There still could be some wiggle room, but that's not really a lot of miles between those two highways. So we are going to just kind of continue to watch for those conditions to fluctuate just a little bit. The one thing that I'm happy to see is in the afternoon data that's been rolling in is that there is a little bit more consistency on the placement of the storm, meaning that our line of snow seems to be kind of lining up and confidence is growing there. But as the system moves out east, we'll still kind of see the backside of it rolling through Michigan. And don't worry, I will zoom in here. But you'll see that the backside of the storm does set up to where we will find that this kind of continues to move through Sunday night. So that's where we'll just kind of keep an eye to roadways on Monday morning, seeing one, how much snow we have, but also if there's some cleanup that we need to do. So that's kind of the big picture. That's why you're hearing big storm, big disruptions, because we are going to be looking at rain, snow, and ice in portions of the country that are not really ready for a system like that. So that's really kind of where the problem and a lot of those concerns are coming up with. So let's zoom in on this run of the hour by hour. We're a little bit closer to home, so you will see that we have the lake effect, some of that cloud cover still to be hanging around for us. But overall, we are going to find tonight that we have partly cloudy skies. So with us not having the clouds, it's like when the blanket falls off the bed and you get really cold. That's what's going to happen for us. We don't have that cloud blanket, so that's why temperatures again tonight are going to be falling into the negatives. We are going to stay there with the cold start. We still also have to talk about wind chills yet, but I did want to hop into this weekend system. So we are going to see Saturday evening, still a dry forecast. We have a little bit of cloud cover coming in. Those clouds do start to build in and kind of fill in a little bit better. But here we are at 7 o'clock, so we don't really have too much snow coming from the system just yet. But it is going to be kind of late morning that we start to see this creep in. So it's kind of setting up through Lansing, coming in towards Owasso, Flint, Lapeer. We're seeing that just kind of knocking on the door there to Birch Run. So this is starting to set up and move further north. This is going to kind of angle itself to cover the thumb, cut through the Tri-Cities, and then include locations further south. So this is kind of the line that we're watching. Another thing that you'll also want to notice is that we kind of have this darker blue that is showing up. Sadly, you can't quite see the pointer that I have working here, but you'll see that Flint, Lapeer, kind of Sandusky, that darker blue, and then we have that lighter blue through Saginaw, Chesaning, Owasso, Caro. So that's kind of where we see a gradient or kind of like a drop off. So some heavier snow a little bit closer towards that darker blue color to where it really kind of gets lighter. So that's also going to be determining our snow totals as they come through. But we will see that the system starts to exit by Sunday evening, so that will give road crews time to clean up from this. Of course, if you are maybe going to be traveling south, or if you have family further south, maybe the Detroit area, Ann Arbor, Brighton, they are going to run into a little bit more snow. So keep that in mind if you do have some travel plans this weekend, is that the further south you go, the more snow that you're going to run into, because you're just trying to get closer to that system. So overall, you will see that we are kind of on the northern edge of this system coming in. It's here during the daylight hours, and then it starts to move through. If you are further north, like Clare, Gladwin, Houghton Lake, you're not going to see too much. Now, I do want to point out in Oscoda, you can have some lake effect from this. So that's where you may have some of those higher totals that kind of creep up. So it would really kind of be there along the lake shore. And then we're still going to be watching for some lake effect kind of coming in behind it, because this is Sunday night and we're just going to have those winds that are going to start to come out of the northeast and kind of the north. So of course that's the setup for us to start to see lake effect through the thumb. And of course we'll be watching coming around the bay. So that's where we are going to be looking at conditions that are going to set up for some lake effect going into Monday. So we are going to be putting together that snowfall map. I do have a draft map here, but you are going to be finding that I don't have the numbers out just yet. I want to make sure that Chris and I are able to have a good conversation when he is in the office. So this is just kind of that first thinking. And I really truly think that this is a good line. You can kind of see that it starts to come through the Tri-Cities, and then it really picks up a little bit closer towards Chesaning, Birch Run, and then we see some of those higher totals towards Flint, Lapeer. One thing that I also want to point out is you can see throughout Sanilac and Huron counties along the east, we're picking up on that lake effect. So we are going to be finding our shoreline communities are going to need to be mindful of lake effect going from Sunday night into Monday. So that would not be something that bothers everybody. But again, lakeshore communities, that lake effect chance Sunday night going into Monday. But this is a look at some of those maps. I urge you to tune in to the news today at 4 o'clock because that's when we will have that snow map coming out for you. Now, we do still need to talk about those feels like temperatures coming up. So if you do have plans tonight, maybe it's Friday night and you always go out to dinner with the family, you are going to see that we do have feels like temperatures that are still going to be around -18 to -20, even some of us still around -25. So that means that you still got to dress warm, bundle up. If you have plans to go out, it's all right to go out. You just have to be cautious and make sure that you're dressed nice and warm to go. As we go during the night, we don't really see a lot of shift in the air on the wind chills, that is. So we will find that our wind chills are still going to be around 15 to 20 degrees below zero through tomorrow morning. That's why we have the first alert weather day for Saturday morning. But going into the afternoon here at 2 o'clock, though we do still have some negatives, we find that we have some wind chills that do get into the single digits on the positive side. So we have that to look forward to in Owasso, Alma, Flint, Lapeer. So it's still going to be cold nonetheless, but at least we kind of break out of that Arctic and frigid air. And still into the night, though, we do have wind chills that are going to be headed back into the negatives. So it's still going to be cold here, even when we look at the 7-day forecast coming up. But at least kind of our coldest days will be behind us and breaking as we go into Saturday afternoon. So looking at that 7-day forecast, you will find that we have the cold weather, the wind chills, and the first alert weather days for today and tomorrow. We do still have just a mention of a couple of flurries because the lake effect is still alive and well. And we actually do keep those chances in as we go through this week. Now, of course, we have that system that's trying to come nearby for Sunday. Again, it's not going to be straight overhead. It is going to be nearby. Those bigger impacts are going to be towards the southern portions of the country. But we will be finding that we still can have some of that snow left over for a little bit on Monday. With high temperatures that are going to be in the teens, we still just left some snow chances in because that means lake effect is still going to be possible. So we'll continue to see some isolated snow showers, those 10% kind of flurries, very similar to what we had for today. The good news is that it won't be nearly as cold, but still highs into the teens, lows into the single digits is still pretty chilly outside. So even though we're not seeing that Arctic air last, it's still going to be cold. It is going to be below average. Normally we should be seeing our lows into the teens, so that's where our highs are going to be. So yeah, we're definitely a little bit off base. This though is usually about the time of year where we receive our coldest air. It's kind of the mid to later portions of January. And soon our averages are going to round the corner and we should see those climbing back up. So something good to look forward to. But of course, we have some tips on our First Alert weather app. I have some of those sitting out there for how to protect your home, how to protect your pets, and also how to protect your family and kind of the health side of all of this cold. So our reporters have really been working hard to make sure that they are kind of covering all of these First Alert weather day angles. So if you need any of those resources, you can find them at WNEM.com or on the First Alert weather app. I can throw up that QR code here for you to get those downloaded. So those will be out there on and off throughout the weekend, so do not miss kind of those weather extras to make sure that you're staying safe and healthy in this. And again, with the system coming in for the weekend, we'll have updates, of course, on our newscasts over the air, but we'll also have updates here in the First Alert weather app. So make sure that you're checking in with us in all the different ways that you can. I urge all of you to bundle up and layer up if you are going to be outside, but enjoy a little bit of that sunshine kind of glazing and through the window. So we are going to hope, though, that you're able to stay warm today, and we look forward to seeing you right back here tonight at 9 o'clock when Chrissy Slick will be right back here at the First Alert desk.
Thank you for joining us. Today's stream has been brought to you by Lockhart Roofing.